Hi, and good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Meistertask introduction webinar. I just want to quickly make sure that you can already see the screen. I shared the screen so you can see it actually in full screen, maximized, and that you can actually hear the audio. We will start with our webinar in probably 2 to 3 minutes, just waiting for a couple of extra people to join. And one thing for you right away here, we will record this webinar as well, so you will receive a full recording of it afterwards via email. So if you have to leave at some point, or if you just want to rewatch it or share it with your colleagues, you can do so at any time after the webinar. And I can see we have people from pretty much all around the world here, with Milan, with Boston, Barcelona, Nevada, Peru. So I think we are now missing just a couple of continents to make sure we are worldwide here. So Tubo actually asked, are you going to share the link for the recording? Yes, we will share the link to the recording afterwards via email. You will receive an email from me probably 1 hour after the webinar, depending on how fast the encoding process works. And then you can just watch it for how many times you want to share it with anybody else or your team members as well. Miguel says the weather is perfect in Boca Raton. Yeah, not so much in Seattle at the moment. I think we'll even have some snow today. I got a precipitation warning before. But we are warm inside here, and we will slowly start with our webinar here today. You should already see my screen. That's already Meistertask here that I'm sharing with you today. That's the dashboard, the very first thing you will see when you start using Meistertask, and also when you log in and open Meistertask on a daily basis. And I will just go ahead and quickly change the background here to our standard background here, also probably my favorite background here. And we'll start with showing you around this dashboard in Meistertask. Meistertask is a task and project management software, as you probably already know. So let's just take a look at a project right away. I will come back to the dashboard a little bit later, but I want to really make sure that we understand the projects on Meistertask and how we can use them. So rather than using any predefined project, I will create a new project with you today, so we can really take every single step along the way with the project. And to create a new project on Meistertask, all I have to do is to go up here to the left side and click on the plus button. It will open a dialog for me, allowing me to create a new project here. I could already import from Trello, Asana, and Wunderlist as well if I want to, but we want to really create a blank project right now. Clicking on the new project here will open up a new project dialog where I can, of course, enter the title of this one. So let's just go with website relaunch. I think everybody can relate in some regards, either if it's in the very corporate side or also on the creative side, or even if you are using Meistertask with just a small number of people, that some website relaunch, rebranding is a possible project for our demo here today, for our webinar here today. So I entered the title here. I can also go ahead and share the project with other people right away. I don't have to, of course, so every single project on Meistertask is private per default if I don't add anybody here, but I can, and I will just add my second user, Oliver, here. Don't need to include a personal message here, which I could, of course, but we know that we will create this project and be invited to it. So all I have to do is to click on Create Project down here. As soon as I do that, I'm actually automatically redirected to the project. So I don't have to search for the project again in the project list. It's already automatically open for me here. Now, the first thing you will probably see, apart from the project title that we just defined, are these three different sections, these three different columns here. And we call them open, in progress, and done. And that's just templates. So you can rename them, create additional ones, change the color and everything. We will do that in a second. But the reasoning behind these sections that I want to explain to you today is a principle that's called the Kanban principle. And this principle, the Kanban principle, was originally invented by Toyota, the car manufacturer. And they invented it to streamline their car manufacturing process because they wanted to save costs, they wanted to save time. So they had to know at each and every step of the process where the individual car parts are, what the status is on it. And that's how they came up with this principle. And you probably have seen this before, if not in a digital tool, then probably on a wall somewhere with little post-its and little columns where stuff is moved around. And that's exactly what we're doing here, only that this is virtual and you don't need to basically stand in front of the same wall. You can share this with everybody worldwide, of course, in real time. So what I will do now here is I will create a new task because it's a task management tool. So all of our projects consist of tasks here. So to create a new task here, I can either click on the plus button here in the individual section or up here, but I will just go ahead to the very left section because that's where we want to start with our new ideas. And before doing that, let me just rename open here with a simple click here to new ideas, because we have the light bulb icon here. And for me, that really resembles an idea. So let's just go with new ideas. This shows you that these sections are completely customizable. You can enter your own text here, your own title, and we will also change the color and rearrange them a little bit later. But let's just go ahead with creating our first task here on Meistertask. Clicking on the plus button here will open an input field again here for me right away on the project. And when I start entering something here, like create a promo video, which we will have to create at some point for our website relaunch, and hit return after it, I just created our very first task here on Meistertask. So that's how simple a task can look like on Meistertask. It just has the title here, and that's about it. There's no additional information here yet to this task, and that's how simple you can keep a task if you're, let's say, working in a project here really alone, which we aren't in this case. Now, the next step that I would do here on this task is I would assign it to somebody. I already invited Oliver before to this project, so I can also assign this task to him instead of me here right now, so that we can have some fun during the presentation here together and not work on this video. So let me just go ahead and assign it to Oliver. Now, to assign a task, I could either open the task by clicking on it. So clicking on this task will open the task dialog with more information. Or if I just want to keep it simple, I can also just hover here over the right side where this little question mark pops up and click on it to assign it to a person here. And as we said before, we want to assign it to Oliver. So now also his user image, his avatar is reflected here on this task tile here. If we click and open it, we can also see up here that this task is assigned to Oliver. What also happened in the background is that if you look at the right side here on our member bar here, which is where we display every single project member, we got this update here with the number 1 with Oliver. It basically means that Oliver now has 1 task assigned to him. And this can be really helpful if you're working with a lot of people. I will show you that a little bit later as well. Now, we have the columns new ideas in progress and done. But we are working on a website relaunch, so it's something public that will go out to the internet. So we want to make sure that everything is reviewed. So let's just create an additional column here and call it in review. I can create additional sections by just clicking either in between the different sections or at the very end here. Let's just go here and try this one at the end here and call this in review. I don't really like the color or the icon for the in review. It doesn't really resemble reviewing it for me. So I can click here on the very right side of this section and change the appearance. Now for me, in review means we have to stop. We have to make sure. So the exclamation mark here works for me. And I also want to make it red and color the whole section red to really make sure that we don't forget about reviewing the tasks here. Now, if you look at our flow here, at our process, we have new ideas in progress, done, and then review. That doesn't really make sense. So I will go ahead and rearrange the section. Now, to rearrange or to move a section in the project, all I have to do is to go over the icon here, our exclamation mark that we just chose before, and drag and drop it to the position where I want it to. And for us, it makes sense to have it in between in progress and done. That would be our review step before we complete the task. So let's just go ahead and take this task and move it through the different stages here for now. So I would go ahead, move this to create promo video as soon as we are working on this task. So it's now in progress here. I can now open the task and I can add additional information if I want to. So for example here, this task has no notes right now, but let's just add one here for our new customers and also to explain our new website features to our existing customers. I added this description, hit return, and what happens actually in the background is as soon as I add more information to the task here in the task dialog, it will also be added to the preview here in the project. So it really depends on how much information you add to a task on what you see on the project. So as you've seen before, a task can really be as simple as this one here, create promo video, very lightweight, but as soon as we add more information to a task, it will also be reflected in the preview. Now I added the description here for our new customers and also to explain, blah, blah, blah. And now we'll also go ahead and add a checklist item, because for the promo video, we want to make sure we have a nice intro, outro, and also some main content. So let's just create 3 checklist items here: intro, main content, and outro. I could also go ahead and upload an attachment if I want from my local computer, Dropbox, Drive, Box, and even our second tool, MindMeister, if we want to attach a mind map to a task here. I won't add an attachment for now, but I will add a due date for this one to make sure we have this ready by mid-March here on the 15th of March. Due at 12 sounds, let's add it for 6 p.m. here. And let's look again at the task in our project here. So now that we added the due date and also the 3 checklist items, these are also reflected here in our preview. So not only can we see, okay, this has a due date in March, but we can also see the status of the checklist item. So we can see 0 out of 3 checklist items are checked off so far. So usually we would now go ahead, and as we are in progress, we would actually work on this task, check off our checklist items that we might want to check off here: intro, main content, outro. We might even upload the video here in this case as an attachment, which we can of course also preview in line here. And then the next step in our project here would be, of course, to move it to the in review section. Here now somebody has to review this, so we either have to send out an email to somebody or use our commenting feature here to actually mention somebody like John. I think this is ready for review. So we are doing this manually now, and I will show you afterwards on how we can streamline all of this with our automation. So this would be the manual way here right now. And now John actually has to go into here, opens the task again, reviews all the task content here, thinks that everything is fine here, and then he will go ahead and move it to the very last section here where he can complete the task eventually. So that's our manual process on how to take a task through the different stages here on Meistertask. I will show you the automated way as well in a second, but before that, I actually want to show you how a project with more team members and also more section can look like, and how it behaves, and how you can actually make use of this filter bar, this member bar here on the right side, to show your personal way of working in a project, even when working with other people at the same time. So to switch to another project on Meistertask, all I have to do if I'm already in a project is to click up here on the project title. It will open up a switcher for me where I can switch to other projects. I could, of course, also at all times go back with the home button to my dashboard here and select another project here from my sidebar. I will do that now here, and I will jump into our software sprint project here. As soon as I open it, you can see there's a lot more information in this project. There are many more tasks in here, many more people as well, if you just look on the right side here. But still, without even scrolling right now, I get a pretty good idea on how much stuff is in progress here, if we have a lot of new ideas here, what the status is on the review process, and so on. So I didn't even scroll yet. Of course, if I have more information, like down here, I can start scrolling. But even the number up here already shows me what the status is in this very section here. So we have 11 tasks for review, 3 in progress, and so on. Now, what I mentioned before switching to this project was the member bar here. Now, let's just say we are using Mario's image here. We are working with Mario. We want to know what Mario is working on. So with just a simple click here in the sidebar, I can filter the whole project down to only Mario in this case. I can see all of Mario's tasks here. Let me just quickly archive this one because it doesn't make sense that this is completed and not started one. And now I can see we have at the Facebook stories in progress, reviewed 2 different tasks. We also completed 2 tasks here. So that's a list of all of Mario's tasks. As you see here, we have the number 3 here, but we see 5 total tasks here. And this is because we only show the active, the open tasks here, not all the completed ones, of course. So we can see these 2 tasks were already completed. These 3 are still open and active. That's why we have the number 3. Now, this can be helpful if it's myself, if it's my own user, which will always be displayed at the very top here. So John Demo here in our case is our demo user here, allows me to quickly filter down the whole project just to my own tasks. And the great thing about that is that this is still fully interactive, and it's only for me, this view. So I can still move stuff around. I can even create new tasks in this filtered view for me without changing anything for the other people, without changing their filtered view. So for example, if Connor is currently filtering everything down to him, and Connor has a lot of stuff to review, it won't influence anybody's other view, even though if they're even if they're on this project at the very same time. So this member bar here on the side is not only great for yourself to just see what's going on with your tasks, but also if you want to, let's say, work with Mia and see if Mia actually has time for some new tasks. And it looks like she's currently working on the single sign-on here, with the login methods on this task, but maybe I can add a new idea for her, or even ask her about this task and what her projection is, if she will be able to finish it soon, and if she can help me on another topic. I can use this filter bar here on the right side for myself to work with my colleagues, but also as a management member or a project manager here to see what's going on, what's the workload, for example, for Mark here. Can I add new tasks for Mark where I need Mark's expertise, and so on. So pretty great and simple view, especially to work with a lot of information in a big project and with a lot of people here, while still keeping everything clean and still keeping everything transparent for everybody. Let me now go back to our project from before, the website relaunch. Now, we actually took the task here manually through all the different stages. And one question that came up again, we will record this webinar for you. We will send it out to you via email, probably an hour after the webinar. So lean back and relax, or if you have to leave at some point, you will be able to rewatch the recording afterwards. One additional question that I also saw here a little bit earlier here was if there's a way actually to use this product offline. That's a question that we get pretty often, and I will answer most of the questions towards the end, but as we are still at the beginning here, I just want to highlight here that you can actually use Meistertask offline. The only thing you have to do for that is to download one of our mobile applications. So it has to be either the Android application or the iOS application. Doesn't matter if you're on a tablet or phone or anything, but one of these 2 applications from either the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store will allow you to fully work offline. So if you log in there once, you can create projects, work fully offline, even add new tasks, complete existing tasks, work on existing tasks, and everything will be synced automatically once you go back online again. So if you are working in an environment where you don't have any internet connection, or where you're traveling a lot, you can just work on everything offline and we will sync that automatically. But going back now to our website relaunch project, and as promised, I will answer all your questions in probably the last 10 to 15 minutes of this webinar. Let's see how fast we can get through all this great content that I want to share with you today. So we are back in our website relaunch project. That's where we started today. We took this task manually through the different stages. Now, what I want to talk about with you here is the workflow automations that we provide in Meistertask, because it's a pretty unique way on how you work with your tasks. What we found is that when you work on a project, you will probably use the same workflow over and over again. So usually you have the same people working on the same things, you have the same processes in each individual project, sometimes even in whole teams. And that's why we want to introduce something new here to Meistertask, and this is workflow automations. And what workflow automations do is they actually allow you to define what happens when a task is moved or created in a section here. So moved to or created in. So I could define what happens if this task is moved over to the in progress lane. I could define what happens if a new task is created in the new ideas lane. And to just give you an example here, I will just use the very same task that we created before a second time anyway, to create a promo video, and do and go through the different sections with our automations. So first of all, to set up automations, I mentioned they're defining what happens when something is moved to or created in a section. So we have to set it up per section here. So let's just take a look here into our section menu where we changed the color before, we changed the icon underneath the appearance tab here, but we also have a second tab here, which is called automations. And by clicking on add automations, I can actually add individual actions here to this section. So for example, time tracking would be one of these. We want to track the time that we are spending. For example, if you are rebuilding a website for a client where you want to have billable hours, we could use time tracking here to actually track how much time was spent on an individual task. We could also use it internally, of course, and I will also highlight it a little bit later in the reports and statistics and show you how you can define different time tracking periods and so on. So let's just go ahead and add this automation for time tracking here. So we added the time tracking here. We have to activate the time tracking once before for our project here. It will prompt you to do so. So let's just add the time tracking here. And for when a task is moved or created in progress, we want to start the time tracking. Done and add it. As soon as you add an automation to a section, we will also display it here in the background, start time tracking, as you can see here. Now for the in review one, we of course want to stop the time tracking again. We don't want to actively track the time while it's being reviewed here and while it's waiting for somebody to review it. So going back in here again, time tracking, and stop the time tracking. We also want to actually notify somebody that this task is for review. So we could either send out an email, we could assign it to the individual person, but I will just go with the email here and add our marketing colleague here, Rafaela. Adding her email address, even manually here works. You could add the task owner, individual project members here right away, or use any other channel like a Slack message, an Office 365 groups, and so on. Now we added already 2 automations. So this shows you can add multiple ones to any section. But one thing that's also important here for the in review one is that if you remember our software sprint project from before, we had a lot of stuff in review here and it piled up a little bit. So I want to make sure that everything that gets moved into in review actually has a due date set. So I can even per section here set up an automation to send or update a new due date. I want to make sure that everything is reviewed within 3 days. We don't want to pile up any tasks in here. So set this to 3 days, and this will automatically add the due date and set the due date to do in 3 days once I move something in review. Now, if you remember correctly from before, when we moved over this task to the last section, to the done section, we had to manually complete it, even though we already reviewed it in here. So it was already complete for us. So what I can do here in the last section here is add an automation to just automatically update the status here to complete it in our case. Set done here, added that as well to this section. And let's just now take this create promo video task and do the very same things that we did before as well. So create promo video, assign it to Oliver here in this case, moving it over. Now, as you remember, we set the start the time tracking automation. And as soon the second you move it over, it will start the time tracking here automatically on our server. It will also be reflected up here directly on the task and up here with this little indicator here that's visible not only in your project, but even on the dashboard. So now we can click on this task and we are automatically tracking the time, so we don't have to take any notes or adjust that later. It's automatically done in the background for us. Adding our checklist items, intro, main content, and outro, checking them off individually, working on the task, same thing as before. Of course, we want to go through the whole task here. We might upload an attachment if we want, again, add a due date if needed, not needed for now. We could, of course, set one for beginning of March or so, but let's just keep it like it is for now and move this task over to in review. Let's say we already uploaded the promo video here and we are done with this task on our end. Now moving into in review here again, we'll trigger 3 different actions. First of all, the time tracking stopped. You can tell there's no red indicator anymore here. There's no time tracking up here anymore. And we also send out an email automatically to Rafaela that this task is actually up for review. And we also set the due date, and it's even visible on our preview from before, to be due in 3 days, because we want to make sure that nothing piles up in the in review section here. Now Rafaela only has to go into Meistertask, can even click on a link, of course, in her email or in her push notification or Slack message, depending on the automation we've set up. And then she just look through this task here. And once she's fine with it, she can just move it over to the done section where it's automatically completed. So we set up, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different automations here in probably 2 minutes while I've explained them to you. So you can see how easy it is to set up these automations. The only work that will be, of course, on your end is to figure out how your existing projects run, what the processes are, what the existing workflows are, and then set these up once for your project. Because with every single new task that I create now, everything is done automatically. I don't have to apply the automations anymore. They will be applied automatically. So I'm saving time with every new task that I create now. And I'm also reducing the error rate here, because the start time tracking, stop time tracking, everything is done automatically. The email is sent out to Rafaela right away. I don't have to bug her manually to say, hey, please review this. It's automatically done. And somebody can't really have any personal feelings against a robot or a server sending emails. At least I hope not. So this setting up these automations just help to really streamline your work and your workflows here on Meistertask. So that's one thing that I really want to point out. Look at these automations, and they're of course more than just the ones that we just looked at. Really depends on which services you connected to. So if you connect to your Office 365 group, you can also notify people there. If you connect to Slack, you can send out Slack message, just that a task was moved into a section where it could even be a whole channel with a lot of people reviewing things, incoming things, something like that. So really look at these automations and try and maybe even start with 1 or 2, because they will already help you to save some time and reduce errors on your project. And they also allow you to really build a framework for really complex projects once, and then everything will be done automatically on the back end once you move the task through the different stages. So that's on automations. I want to go back to the dashboard now and explain and show you a little bit around on the dashboard before we'll talk about adding tasks via email and also adding tasks via Spark here, an email tool on macOS. I just want to quickly highlight for you because we just added that recently. But let's take a look at the dashboard here first. The very first thing you will see on the left side is the project list. And this is also where we created our new projects before. This is where we want to import our projects from other tools like Trello, Asana, or Wunderlist, for example. And this is also where we can create new project groups. So project group is pretty much comparable to a folder for a group. So for example, here we have a project group called development, a project group called marketing. And of course, it looks nice if it's more structured, but still the project list could get very long if we, like in my real account, have, I think, 55 different projects here. So what the project groups also allow you to do is to actually collapse them. So on the right side here, I can click on hide and just collapse the ones that I'm not actively working on, because you probably are not working on all your 55 projects every day. And if you, I'm really sorry. So to create a new project group, we can just go in here and let's just call one sales, because we have a sales project here as well. Confirm the name. It will be automatically added to my dashboard. And to just move a project into a group, all I have to do is to go here on the left side of this project icon and drag and drop again the project into the respective group here. Sales also maybe the next big thing. So now I have 2 projects in here. And if I'm only working on sales, I can just use this. If I'm only working on development, expanding this, or also marketing, you get the idea here. Now, if you delete a project group, nothing much will happen. The project of this group will be moved to the bottom of your project list, and that's it. So there's no way of losing projects by editing or deleting project groups here on the dashboard. You've seen the dashboard background already. We switched it to this, probably my favorite picture here, and like it's a screen vacation for a second here to just look at this. Now, to change your background image, all you have to do is to click down here on the settings wheel. This allows you to not only change it to predefined colors here, to if you just really want to focus on your work and have no distraction in your background, you can just choose one of our colors here. You can choose one of our predefined Meistertask photos, like the one that I selected before, or you can also upload your custom photos. So here, for example, I think that's, outside of Alcatraz on a ferry. This is on a ferry to Bainbridge Island from Seattle with Mount Rainier in the background. All these pictures, I'm probably a ferry geek, as you can tell. So you can add your personal images here to the dashboard and also to the individual projects, which I will show you a little bit later as well. So let's just keep this Mount Rainier here in the background. It's a rare treat that you can actually see this mountain in Seattle. So I will go with this dashboard background for now. Now, the more prominent part here of our dashboard here is this personal area here. It's called My Tasks and Notifications, and this area is really for you. It doesn't matter in how many projects you are with, how many people, this will always be unique to you, this area here. Now, the My Tasks part here starts with the first feature here called My Checklist. And My Checklist serves as your lightweight task management list here. It could be something like a prepare Q1 report. It could also be, of course, something like buy milk. It's a very simple checklist that lives on your dashboard and also in your mobile apps, of course. So you can just switch to your checklist real quick if you want to use it for shopping in this case, or if you just want to note something really quickly, like prepare a Q1 report to make sure you don't forget it. Now, the great thing about checklist items here is that let's just take this Q1 report as an example, if we want to add more information to it, if we want to invite other people to work on it as well, we can always convert our checklist items here on this right side to tasks. We can just select the project that we want to have this one in and then make it a real task, let's say for the next big thing, or what do we have here, prepare Q1 report, we could add this to sales and create a real task out of it. So if you have a quick idea, just note them down in the app or directly on the dashboard here. You can always take them and convert them into real tasks if you want to, or just check them off like the buy milk, where you probably don't need additional people to complete this task, I hope. So that's the My Checklist part. You can also disable this feature up here in the menu if you don't have any use for it. I think it's really, really handy to just add something quickly to your list here without having to go into a project and create a task. Now, all the other tasks down here are all tasks that are assigned to you. And that's why I mentioned before, it doesn't matter how many projects you are in, it doesn't matter how many other people are in there. This area will show all the tasks that are assigned to you at the moment. Now, at the moment, we have the different project titles here. So we have software sprint, marketing, company launch, and so on. This might be great for you if you really want to keep it split, but I usually like to sort this list via a different way, which up here we can change the sorting. I like to change it and sort it actually via the due date here, because this allows me to see what's due today, for example, like the submit to App Store, what's due this week, later, and so on, no matter in which project this task is. So here we can see, this task is from the company launch project, this task is from the next big thing, this is from sales, marketing, and so on. But that's probably a personal preference, excuse me. The sorting here, I can just recommend this due date as soon as you work with due dates. This is a great way of just working through your list and having the most relevant information always at the top here. The next part here, the notifications part, really serves as your communication within Meistertask. It could be something like an action that has been applied to a task, or also a mention like we had before where we asked John to actually review something, I think with the promo video. Now in this case here, we just added this new comment here where it says, Oliver mentioned you in a comment on add offline mode, where he said, can you please add this at John Demo? So he mentioned me here in this case, and this is why this popped up for me on my dashboard. Now, if I click on this notification here, I'm of course brought directly to the task. I know what Oliver is talking about, and that's a really great thing to keep in mind, because usually if we are talking about tasks on the phone, via an email or something, we always have to reference the specific task. And of course, create promo video could be a promo video for 19 different things. So this really allows us to communicate directly on the task. And also this whole information is saved directly on the task indefinitely. So even if you complete the task, all the communication will still be on there. And as you can see here right now, it says a few seconds ago, Oliver said, can you please add this at John Demo? Now, if you take your mouse cursor in your Meistertask and hover over the a few seconds ago, it will also show you the exact timestamp. This is probably not transmitted via the screen sharing right now because it's a tooltip and overlay. But if you are in your Meistertask and you hover over it, you will see the exact timestamp. So I can see 27/02/2019, 9:02. I can see the exact time when we added this comment here. I can, of course, reply here right away. Sure, happy to do that right away in this task here. Everything is saved here. The whole conversation is saved on here. So even if I go back at a later stage, I know why this task was added, who did it. I can, for example, take this task here now, assign it to myself, and all these actions will be automatically saved in Meistertask. So if something happens to this task here, and let's say Oliver in this case cancels the task or has an additional question on this task, or even likes my comment that I've just added to this task, it will be displayed on my end as well. So as soon as I'm working actively with a task, I'm in the loop for this task. So as soon as I work on something, as soon as I interact with the task here, I'm automatically added to this task. And I will get notifications on everything that happens to this task. So for example, if we now go ahead on our other user here and do something with the task here, then I can see it right away here. So Oliver likes your comment on sure, happy to do that. So as soon as you interact with a task, as soon as you interacted with in any way, be it moving it somewhere, creating it, commenting on it, adding a checklist item, as soon as you interact with it, you are in the loop. And we also displayed it on a task. So if you get a notification about a specific task, you can just open the task and look here on the very right side in this watching area. This will show all the people that are watching this task, additionally to, of course, the ones assigned, having the task assigned. So in our case, we just got the notification that Oliver actually liked this comment because the task is assigned to us. But Oliver would also get a reply here because he's watching the task if we change something to this task now. Now, down here on the task dialog, we can see conversations here. So at the moment, we are only showing the conversations on the task. If we are interested in more of the task and how and what happened to this task, we can always switch this to full activity, where it will show you exactly, okay, this task was created an hour ago, then this comment, then John Demo assigned it to John Demo, again with the timestamps if you hover over that. So it's a pretty great way of keeping everything tracked in on your tasks. And even if you want to go back 3 years later, we will have the exact timestamp and you can see why a task was created, what the communication was on there. And you don't have to search through long email threads or archives, or even try to recall in some old chat tool that you're not longer using anymore and find a way and reason why this happened. So these notifications are really a great way of displaying stuff and keeping you in the loop. One thing to mention here with the watching of tasks is that you can also add yourself to the watching list. If you don't want to interact with a task right away, you can also just go into a task. Let's just try if we find one that we are not working on yet. Probably every single one in here has some interaction from us. Let me just see if we can get one. Update corporate colors, also my task. It's probably tough on this one here to find a task where we are not watching it. But as you can see here with the watching in the sidebar, we can just select ourselves and add us to the watching list without modifying the task in any way, without adding a comment, without having to reassign it or anything. And we will be already in the loop here for this task. One question that always comes up is if there's a way to watch a whole project, and yes, there fortunately is. So everything that's project related, and let me just go back to our own project from before to keep it really simple here. Everything that's project related will always be up here in the project properties. If we click on this blue info icon here, we can open the project properties, and then it allows us to see all the members that are in there, see the individual power-ups like the time tracking that we activated before, also other integrations like the Slack one that I mentioned before from our automations, or the Office 365, or even other tools like a Zendesk, Helpdesk, and so on. So this is the area where we have everything that's project related, and project related is also this icon up here where we can watch a whole project. So if I click on this and I'm the project manager, for example, I will get a notification, be it an email or an in-app notification, about every single change that happens to this project. Might blow up your inbox, but if it's a time-pressing project and you really want to track everything, you can enable this and watch a whole project with every single task that's in there. Now, going back to the dashboard here, one more time, one thing that I didn't mention here are these two icons up here. The first one being allowing to filter your notifications by only the unread ones or all of them. And then also this button here to only show comments here that mentioned you. That's why we have this @ sign here, like in the mention with @JohnDemo. So you can filter between the activity changes, like Oliver liked your comment, or let's say Oliver completed Apple Pay here, and so on, and filter only to the ones that actually include your name, where you have to probably react even more than just a simple change or completion of a task that somebody else worked on. So this @ will have all your mentions here. If we don't click on it, and that's the default setting, we will see all notifications, including the mentions. Now here on the My Task list, we have this little star icon, and that's one additional feature that we add to every task that's assigned to you. So let's just take, for example, this TV ads task down here and open it up. Now, as soon as a task is assigned to you, to your user, you will have this little star icon up here. And it works basically as adding it to your focus is what we call it, but you can compare it to a bookmark, to a favorite. And as soon as you add tasks to your favorites, we have them up here, and you can just filter your whole My Task list only by tasks that are added to your focus. If you want to, let's say, focus on these two first before working on anything else that has a due date or anything like that. Up here, these icons are pretty self-explanatory. The plus button allows you to add tasks right away from the dashboard to different projects, different sections, right away from the dashboard. This is pretty helpful if you just want to quickly add something somewhere without having to search through the different projects here. You can do so right away here, and also a quick way of adding something that you might have forgotten on a task. This icon, we saw this icon already before with the time tracking. When we track the time on the other task, this is again unique to us. So we don't have any recent time tracking yet because we tracked it for the other user, Oliver. So that's why we have no recent time tracking here. If I go ahead to submit to the App Store here and start the time tracking right here now, then we can see, first of all, of course, on the task preview here that we are tracking time, but also up here right away in our pop over here that we are tracking time. And we can even stop the time tracking right in here. The search icon is one thing that I want to highlight a little bit here, because this allows you to really filter for projects no matter in which project, tasks, excuse me, no matter in which project they are. So this way I could filter for all tasks that, let's say, include promo, because I guess we have a couple of promo tasks here. And as you can see here, we have quite some tasks, be it the task completed, be it open ones, showing also these task previews right away. So you can either click on them right away here to open them up right away on your dashboard again, or you can just go ahead and just look at them in the preview here, where you can see, okay, there's one checklist item still open for this task, and so on. You can filter also on the sidebar here to just show tasks that are assigned to a specific person, including tags, which is also one thing that I will show you in a couple of minutes. And then most importantly, and that's my first tip and trick here before looking at any tasks via email, I promise, is our quick switcher down here. So click on this quick switcher once. After clicking on it once, you really should familiarize yourself with this key shortcut. It's Command and K on Mac OS or Control and K on Windows and Linux. and you can press it wherever you are on Meistertask. So if I'm on a dashboard, Command and K here will open it up. If I'm in the event management project here, Command and K will do the same. And this quick switcher actually shows me always the 3 recent projects and the 2 recent tasks that I've been on. So I can go back with just my cursor keys here on my keyboard, up and down, my arrow keys here, and then just hit enter to select a project, for example, like the software sprint project. Command and K again, I can go back to the submit to App Store task that we just tracked time before on. Command and K, going back to website relaunch. You get the idea. So it's a quick and efficient way of navigating through Meistertask without having to use your mouse, without having to search for specific projects. And this is really helpful if you're working on a lot of different projects, because you might have just forgotten to, but I wanted to add something to this task. This way, Command and K shows me the recent task, can quickly open it, edit, and then go back to my website relaunch project here and continue working with some other tasks here. So Command and K also allows you to search. So we can even search through all of our promo tasks here. It will search for the title only though here in this case. If you want to have the full-blown search, there's always a way to search for every single context here for promo video. So now talking about adding tasks via email. And especially in this project, because we have already set up a couple of automations, I want to show you a way of adding tasks to a project via email. And the simplest one is probably directly up here via our automations. I don't know if you saw that before, but in the automations, we also have a way of adding tasks to this section via email. And every single section on Meistertask in every single project has a unique email address. So this email address will only lead to this new leads and new ideas section in the website relaunch project. And what happens if you send an email to this email address is that the subject of the email will be the task title here. The body of the email, the text of the email, will be your description here, and any attachment that's added to this email will be also automatically uploaded to this task. So it's a really great way of handing out this email address. First of all, if you don't have access to our app and just want to quickly send a task to a specific project that you have saved in your contacts file, for example, or also, and that's one use case that a customer of ours pointed out, use this to integrate external people to Meistertask. People that not necessarily want to be onboarded to Meistertask, that aren't using any online tools, but simple emails, can just use this email address to, for example, report things into a project. So this email address is an easy way of allowing external people to get added directly to the project and to add and report things directly to it via email. Now, when looking at these automations, we could even go that as far as adding an automation here right away for this very section to send, let's say, a Slack message to a specific group. So what would happen then is that we can send emails directly to this section, be it an external branch manager, like in our customers case, that just has this email address for reporting any new issues. And then we have an automation where we trigger that automation automatically, instantly to the team, to the internal team in the headquarters, where they see, oh, there's a new task, there's a new issue added to our project, but we have to work on it. So everything is tracked on Meistertask. Everything is easy for both sides, be it the external person just having to use an email address like before, and the internal response team where they get an instant notification via Slack, for example, via our automations that something was added to that. So that's on adding tasks via email. The second way of adding tasks via email is via our latest integration, Spark. And I will just quickly change my screen here for a second so that you can see how it would look like. So quickly changing my screen here to different application window. Just a second, will pop up in a second for you again. It's already streaming here on my end. So just bear with me for a second here. Should come up now on your end. I just want to make sure that it's full screen for you here again. And it should be. So that's Spark. It's an email tool on macOS and iOS available at the moment. And with Spark, we actually worked on a different way of including emails in tasks, because we can of course send out an email to create a task. We can of course use other integrations like Office integration for Outlook or Gmail add-on to create tasks from emails. And we did the same with Spark here at the beginning. So with Spark here, with the tool, you can export any email here to Meistertask as a task. But what sets Spark really apart here is not only allowing you to just copy the email with the task title and the whole email context and text here, but there's also an option, and that's my favorite option here, to link to this email. So Spark actually allows you to link to an email, and you don't even have to use Spark here. So for example, here, we want to allow access to anyone with the link to this email. We want to add this, we called it Q1 report. So let's just add this one here, let's say, to our sales chart here, our sales project here. We even selected the section here, and then we can just save this email and export it to Meistertask. Now, if I go back to Meistertask, and I will just quickly change my screen again, bear with me for a second here, should be faster right now. Just to show everything on Meistertask again. Stream should be up again for you, and of course this will also be everything in our recording here. Now, if I go back to Meistertask here, and we look at the sales project where we've added the task here, we can see that in the assessment column here, in the assessment section, we have this task created Q1 reports. And what's really great here is that we have a link directly to this email. So even if something changes on this email, if there's a reply coming in, like from a customer, for example, if there's a reply coming in from a client that wants to make last second changes to anything, we have everything in this email link. So if I now quickly change my screen one last time here, before going back to Meistertask, and show you how an email would look like here on Spark, then you can see here that we have an email directly to the email. So if somebody replies to this email now, it's all added automatically to this link. So you always have the latest up-to-date version of the whole conversation here. And that's what we love with Meistertask, because you can communicate right away on the task and everything is saved. But now we can do the same here with Spark with emails, showing all the email content right away in the link and always being able to get the latest version of the email. So that's one thing that I can really recommend. Spark here, available for free on the iOS and Mac App Store. If you're using them, give them a try. Works really well with Meistertask and really encourages our way of working, of not keeping it a static way of sharing just stuff in one direction, but actually allows you to do that in both ways and keeping everything up to date with a new email that might come in. Next thing that I want to share with you are a couple of tips and tricks before we will look at our reports and statistics. And I know I will probably be run late today. I took a little bit more time, so bear with me if you have to leave in 10 minutes. The recording will be available for you as well, of course. But let me just quickly try to go through a couple of tips and tricks and then look at the reports and statistics before I answer your questions. So first tip and trick is around checklist items. So if you have a project, and I will just create a quick new project here and call it HR. We don't want to invite anybody. This is a private one, so every project stays private per default. We only want to make this project visible to the project members. There are no project members except us here. So we create the project. It's only us. We are brought to the project. We have a couple of different sections. Again, that's fine for me right now, open in progress and done. And now I will just go ahead and add a couple of people that we want to hire. Jane Demo, Sylvia Schmidt, and last but not least, Bill Williams. Very creative. Now for Jane, for example, we have an onboarding checklist. We want to hire her. So one thing would be buy a laptop. One thing would be print business cards. One thing would be enroll in benefits. Another thing would probably be hand out employee manual. And most importantly, for our company at least, explain espresso machine. And let's make this European here. We want to use an S because I've seen that somebody from Milan is here as well. So explain espresso machine, we now have this checklist for the onboarding, and that's one that we actually want to reuse, but we don't want to type everything again. So with every single checklist on Meistertask, we can click up here and save it as a predefined checklist. So clicking on save as predefined checklist will allow me to enter a title here. I would call this HR onboarding, save this as a predefined checklist, and then I can reuse it on other tasks. So if I go on Sylvia now, I don't have to add all the individual checklist items again. I can just click on load here and load the HR onboarding checklist here. Same for Bill Williams here. Sorry, clicked on Sylvia again. Same for Bill Williams here, loading all the checklist items here that are just predefined. And as I mentioned before, everything that's project related is in the project properties. And this is, of course, project related. So we can also go on in here, up here with this blue info icon again, click on project properties and actually see all our predefined checklists that are saved in this project. I can even rearrange, rename, add additional ones right in here. So that's one thing with the checklist as a tip and trick. The second tip that I want to share with you is tags, using tags as labels, as categories to organize your tasks. And to show you the best use case for using tags here, I will switch back to our software sprint project we've seen before. The software sprint project includes a couple of tags already, and you might spot them right away on the individual task previews here. So we have nice to have. This is a tag, for example. UI UX is a tag here. Testing is a tag here. Live is a tag here. Bug is a tag here, and so on and so on. So you see that you can actually add multiple tags per task here. So if we open this one here, the open links in new tabs, we can see that 2 tags are added here in this right sidebar. These tags are custom to you. So if you have a new project, you will be able to define them right away. You can always manage them again, surprise, surprise, in the project properties here, where you can define individual colors, add as many as you want. And then you can use these tags on the one hand for priorities like urgent, nice to have, for example, but also as categories like testing, UI UX, or even a status here as additional status like live, when everything is live on our website here. So mixing and matching tags here makes a lot of sense because first of all, I can see it right away in my preview here, but I can also filter for specific tags. And when talking about filtering, we filtered before, and we actually did that here with our member bar. Now to filter for more stuff, I can expand this bar here on the right side and switch from the activity, which shows all the activity in my project here, to the filter on the right side here. Now I can click on my tags here that I defined before. So if I want to only see tags on bugs, I can just click on here and filter down the whole project like we did with the members before to all tags bug. Now, if I want to see the nice to have ones, I can click on nice to have. If I want to see both nice to have and UI UX, I can click on both of them as well, and it will of course only show me the one task that we've seen before here. I can even add due date here, filter for specific status, and so on. So these tags are a pretty cool way of using and adding an additional layer to Meistertask, because something that you might struggle in the beginning when using the Kanban principle for the very first time is that you can't use you're not using the columns anymore for the different categories like you probably did before in an Excel or in another non-project Kanban tool here. Now, using this tags as categories can really help you, because this way you can see where these tasks are at and still see the category at the same time, or even filter for the category here. Now, one thing that I want to share with you and that we also highlighted in our agenda is reports and statistics, because while it's great to be in a project like the software sprint one and being able to filter everything down even to a specific person here or to specific tags here, we might still manage more than one project or be involved in more than one project or be a management member of a company and want to really get some visibility here. And for that reason, we integrated and added our reports and statistics to Meistertask. And to access the reports and statistics, all you have to do is to click on your avatar here at the very top here, So this could be your user image if you added one, or your user initials. And then you click on statistics here to open up the statistics. They will open up in a second window, so we don't take you away from your individual projects. And I will just quickly open the second window here as well, quickly changing the screen share here to our reports and statistics view. So all you have to do is just click on the statistics link. It will open up for you. I'm just quickly changing the screen one second last time probably for today, and now you should see our reports and statistics view. This view here allows you to dig deeper into the projects and to see a channel performance as well. So the very first screen we can see here is called performance. This allows you to see a channel trend on what's going on in your projects, what the trend was in the last 7 days, last 3 months, even all time, even filter down to specific projects here, see who's the most active user. And luckily it's John Demmer, our demo user here, followed by Oliver and Susan. You can see the most active sections in here right away. And this is pretty much a health score for your team here, this performance one. This serves as seeing, okay, are we actually adding more to our plate than we should? Do we need additional resources? This really helps us to understand our team a little bit better here. Now, the other remaining items here on the left side, they are really about data. Data about time tracking, for example. If we click on here where we can exactly see how much time we tracked overall in, let's say, the last month before we issue our invoices, our billable ones, billable hours, again, filterable down to specific users, showing the trend, allowing you to filter the different projects here, seeing the most active user, the task that took the most time here. And of course, this is just a demo here in our case, so we can only see a couple of tasks here right now, but you get the idea behind that if you're using time tracking. Now, time tracking might not be for every single company and every single user, but the reports here really are, because the reports make sense in every single company that has more than one employee and more than one project being worked on, because the reports really allow you to pull data from all the projects and show you what's going on. So for example, just as one example, I want to know what my report is working on. Let's say we want to see what Mario is working on at the moment, just as an example, because we've seen Mario before in our tasks. So all I would do here is to switch to open tasks, all projects, because Mario might be involved in 19 different projects. We want to actually see all the tasks from all time, not only from the last 7 days, because open would mean that they are still open. So it doesn't really matter when they were created, they are still open and not completed. And then on the right side, I could keep it with the all users here right now, but we want to explicitly see what Mario is working on. So selecting Mario here will show me all the tasks that Mario is working on at the moment from all the different projects, even including the creation date here. So I can see right away what Mario is working on at the moment. And I can use this to manage my team members in a better way. I can use this for a better way of actually seeing the workload of the individual team members. And I could even use this, let's say, if we have all the users, or even Mario down here, if you have a performance review, to download the information as a CSV file for any other reports that we create in any spreadsheet tool, for example. So this open task really allows us to see what's going on at the moment. Now, the completed tasks here, pretty similar to the open ones, will show you the completed tasks. They are, of course, it's of course less important, at least for me personally, than the open ones, because we want to really make sure that the open ones are worked on. The completed tasks help you, of course, to review your project, to actually see how long it took to create a task or to complete a task. Again, same filtering mechanics as before for the open tasks. Now, overdue tasks is an area that should be a little lower than 180 tasks here. And to actually prevent that from happening, to prevent tasks becoming overdue here, I can really recommend the next report, which is the upcoming tasks, because we use it heavily internally on a weekly basis with all of our different teams, all different departments here, because the upcoming tasks show you what's coming up in your different projects. All the tasks that have due date set are displayed here, and we can even switch to this calendar view here if we want to. And I really like and prefer this calendar view over the table view, especially for the upcoming tasks here, because here I can really go ahead and dive deep with my team here, even plan the next sprint, the next weeks, the next month with my individual teams to really see how our campaigns are going, how our development everything depending on your departments, you probably really value this view here. It's my favorite view in this reports and statistics because this really gives me a lot of power here, and a lot of knowledge and data here that I can use to make my team a better team here and to actually deliver in a better way and see things way before they come up, see problems. If the same team member has 9 different tasks the same week, then this probably won't work out. So we can prevent this already before it's happening and spread our workload in a better way, maybe, or even assign it to another team member, because all of these tasks are clickable. So I can just click them to open the task dialog and to adjust anything or even add a comment to something. So statistics and reports, really powerful way of working with Meistertask here. Now switching back to our main Meistertask application to actually answer your questions that might have come up during the webinar. We're already 3 minutes over. I can see that. Let me just quickly look if there are still any questions or if we already answered everything. I can see from Terry, does the webinar cover mobile apps also? It doesn't at the moment. It's only the computer version here for macOS in this case, but it works in any modern web browser. But our mobile applications are pretty self-explanatory. So the tablet versions on the Android and iOS devices are more similar even from the layout than what we've seen today. The mobile applications just make more use of the screen space as much as possible for the individual areas, but they're really intuitively, we've won even Best of Apple App Store awards with Meistertask, so we really pay close attention to our mobile applications as well and try to make every new feature available there at the same time as well. Another question that I can see here also from Terry here, can you be part of 2 teams at the same time? For example, assign tasks to my team below me and see my responsible task from the team which I am part of above me. So of course you can work with different team members depending on per project basis here. So if we look, for example, at our website relaunch project and click on the info icon here, which is the same as our blue info icon in the project, I can see who's part of this project. And every project has its individual roles here, where it could be an administrator role, member, commenter, or read only. So you can really mix and match that depending on having one project with maybe your management members and then 5 other projects with your team members that you are working with. So it's really per project base here. Tuba asked, just enrolled in MindMeister Edu Campus Plan so that I can invite my students into groups and work collaboratively. How is Meisters different than the Edu Campus Plan? So MindMeister is a different product, a second product that we have as well in our suite. They integrate well with each other, but are 2 completely different tools, one being mind mapping, this one being task management. So I'm happy to just reply to the email that I will send up after the recording. We can go a little bit deeper there on your team with your students here. And I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining. Eugene just asked one last question before we will close this today. And before I will publish the last poll here for you, just want to know if this webinar was useful for you. Actually, 3 different questions, and then we will close for today. So Eugene asked, can you please explain Spark? Is it your own email? Can I use Outlook? Yeah, Spark is a tool that allows you to add your Exchange account, your iCloud, Gmail, whatever email provider you actually have, to your, it's an email tool which works with pretty much any email address out there. So it's a tool that I really like because you, as we saw in our webinar today, you can link to emails. Now, of course, if you're using Outlook, for example, or Gmail, you can use it as well together with Meistertask. So if you just Google for make a web search for Outlook and Meistertask or Gmail and Meistertask, you will see our blog articles about how to integrate these tools with each other, because you can also from your Outlook, even from your web Outlook or from your desktop Outlook, create tasks from emails right away. And the exact same thing with Gmail. You can also add our Gmail add-on for Meistertask to just create tasks right away within Gmail without having to use any other tool. So they work as well. With Spark, really the only difference is here that you can actively link to an email thread here, which Office or Gmail aren't offering at the moment, at least. And of course, Eugene asked, you can use both Outlook and Gmail linking to Meistertask. There's no limitation. Works with both in a very similar way, actually, here. Eric also asked, how soon until global task lists are available to be available for all projects, current, futures? I think task list is checklist here in this case. Just my thought here. I think it should come up very soon to have checklists available in all projects. But please contact our support here, as I don't have the clear roadmap picture here for this feature in front of me. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. As I mentioned before, you will receive the email, including the recording, probably next hour. So there's only one last poll on the right side next to the chat and questions, where I would love to hear if the webinar was actually useful for you, if you learned something, if you need additional resources, or if you fell asleep. Hopefully not too many people fell asleep here. Thank you so much for joining from all around the world, and I hope I will see you very soon on Meistertask. Bye now.